Salut, c'est Madame Sarko et ce soir nous allons apprendre les adjectifs dans vos livres. C'est à la page 164 à 169. So we're studying adjectives tonight. So let's look at this. In French, as in English, we have adjectives. And in French, as in English, adjectives describe nouns. So where nouns are person, places, or things, adjectives are used to describe these nouns. The big difference in French than in English is that in French, as you know, nouns have gender, masculine or feminine, as well as number, which we have in English, the singular or plural. And the difference with the adjectives is that they must agree in gender and in number with the noun they modify. So if we use a masculine noun, our adjective has to be the masculine form. The adjectives themselves are not masculine or feminine or singular or plural, but they have to agree with our nouns. The other difference in French is that the adjectives are placed after the noun instead of before the noun. So let's go through this. The basic form of the adjective is the masculine singular form. That means if you looked it up in the dictionary, the word that they give you, if I, for example, look for the word green, it's going to tell me vert, like this, V-E-R-T, and that is the masculine singular form. However, you have to know enough how to make the changes to agree with the noun. So I have to change it to feminine, or I might have to add s's to make it plural. So let's go through some examples. Well, first of all, there's some rules that we have to look at. So, and you have to learn these rules. So there's adjective agreement rules, and they are as follows. There's really only two of them. If the adjective ends in an E, the feminine is the same, meaning that if, I use timide, which ends in an E, the feminine form is also timide with an E. I have to add s's to both the masculine and feminine forms in order to make them plural. Be aware that these s's are not pronounced. The second adjective agreement rule is that if an adjective does not end in an E, you have to add an E to make it feminine, and then add s's to the masculine and feminine singular forms to make them plural. The only thing you have to be aware of is that you don't want to add the s for a masculine plural if the adjective itself already ends in an s. So, some examples. The adjective timide, meaning shy, ends in an E. So the masculine singular is E. If I looked it up in the dictionary, this is what it would tell me. Timide, like this. The feminine is the same because it already ends in an E. So timide, timide. To make the adjective plural, I have to add s's to the end. Another adjective, amusant, meaning fun. The masculine singular, the one that I'm going to find in the dictionary, is amusant, like this. To make it feminine, I have to add an E, amusante. It does change the pronunciation, amusant, amusante. To make them plural, I add s's, s, s. For the feminine form, I have to add the E first, then the S. So you always need to consider the gender first, then the number. Japonais. The masculine singular form is japonais with S on the end. To make it feminine, I add the E. The masculine plural is the same as the masculine singular because it already ends in an S. The feminine plural, I have to add the E for the feminine, then the S for the plural. So I get japonaise. Again, the S's don't get pronounced, so it doesn't really make a pronunciation difference, but it makes a difference when you're writing it. Some adjectives have irregular forms and they must be memorized. For example, the masculine singular, athletic, is sportif. The feminine, sportive. Change the F to a V and then add the E. The masculine and feminine plurals are just adding s's, sportif, sportive. So typically you need to be aware that when you're making adjectives plural, it's just simply taking whatever gender you're working with and adding s's. So some more examples in sentences. For example, the boy is fun. Le garçon est amusant. The fun boy, le garçon amusant. So normally, in English, this first sentence here, the boy is fun, is word for word the same as the French. They're both the same. However, the word order changes here. So the fun here, boy here. Le garçon amusant. The girl is athletic. La fille est sportive. The athletic girl, la fille sportive. Notice this agrees with that. The boys are nice. Les garçons sont sympathiques. Notice the S here because this agrees with that. The nice boys, les garçons sympathiques. So where the first sentences that I've shown you are complete sentences, the second little thing that I've shown you on each side has been just a phrase, the nice boys. There needs to be more to make it into a sentence. The girls are smart. Les filles sont intelligentes. ES here because it agrees with this. The smart girls, les filles intelligentes, ES because it agrees here. Okay, so you can see that these endings we're adding on. So now let's work on learning some of our vocabulary. So, amusing or fun. Amusant, amusante. So I'm going to tell you both the masculine and feminine for each one, and I would, if I were you, repeat them. Amusant, amusante. The plural forms don't change pronunciation. You just would have to remember that if you were making these plural, you'd have to add S's to the end. Okay. Intelligent or smart. This word is the same in French as it is in English, spelling-wise. There should be no problem spelling it. Intelligent, intelligent, intelligente, intelligente. Interesting. Intéressant, intéressante. Intéressant, intéressante. Mean or nasty. Méchant, méchant, méchante, méchante. Silly or dumb. Bête, bête. Since this one ends in an E, it is already the same for both. Nice or pleasant. Sympathique, sympathique. A lot of times the French will shorten this to sympa. Sympa, comme ça. Timid or shy. Timide, timide. Nice or kind, another word for nice. Gentil, gentil, gentille, gentille. Cute, mignon, mignon. Mignonne, mignonne. Athletic, sportif, sportif. Sportive, sportive. Rather. So this is a adverb that will help to qualify the adjective. So I'm rather smart. Assez, assez. Very. Très, très. Okay, some nationalities. Some of these we've already had. American, américain, américain. Américaine, américaine. Mexican, mexicain, mexicain. Mexicaine, mexicaine. Italian, italien, italien. Italienne, italienne. Canadian, canadien, canadien. Canadienne, canadienne. French, français, français. Française, française. English, anglais, anglais. Anglaise, anglaise. Japanese, japonais, japonais. Japonaise, japonaise. Chinese, chinois, chinois. Chinoise, chinoise. Spanish, espagnol, espagnol, espagnol. This doesn't change pronunciation because the L is already pronounced. It's one of those consonants that does actually get pronounced at the end of a French word. Swiss, Suisse, Suisse. Bon, c'est fini. Maintenant, vous avez étudié les adjectifs et puis demain, on va parler de ceci. Bon, bonne soirée, à demain.